Welcome in to the Fantasy Friends Football Podcast. I just do the football podcast on there. We're just the Fantasy Friends.
We're just fantasy.
We're Fantasy Friends, not real friends. But I am Erik, your host at Fantasy Barbecue. I got my man Jason, as always, at Big Chill Squad. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, Chris at the Commish FF. Chris, co-host of the Practice Squad podcast, writer at goingfor2.com, and recently, as of, was it yesterday you said?
I announced it this morning, so brand new.
Man. Team Rise, writer at Team Rise and Fall. How's it going, Chris? Thank you so much for joining us, bro.
Man, having a great time tonight being here already. Erik, Jason, man, good to see you guys, meet you guys face to face here finally. But excited to be here and talk some football with you guys.
Hell yeah, man, us too. Jason, what's going on, man? How you living?
Strong as always.
That's what I'm talking about. I always get nervous. You're going to say you're living like just kind of mediocre. You did that one time.
Yeah, but
it made me.
But the Phoenix burned last night. So
how dare you? You know that I was rooting for the Suns.
I because you live there. Your pain brings me great strength.
That's messed up. Anthony says, "What up, Fantasy Friends? What's going on, Anthony? Thanks for popping in here. We appreciate it, my man." So we got a great show for you, episode 30 of. I mean, I can't believe we've been around for 30 episodes. Lord have mercy alive. No one could have predicted it, but we're still here. We got a great show tonight. We're calling it From Fantasy Hero to Fantasy Zero, a bust story. So we're going to be talking about 9 different potential, let's say, call them bust candidates for 2021. But before we get into that, we got to get into you talking good.
You talking good?
Yes, Jason, you took Cam's place today.
I got it, baby.
My man. So that's our news, rumors, conjecture, yada, yada, whatever you want to call it. We got a bunch of stuff this week, Chris. We got a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to hit you with it first. I'm going to ask about your opinion. Cam Akers, man. He broke our hearts. And before we get into anything, speedy recovery to that young man. That's number one. Tell me, I have a quick question about where does Darrell Henderson end up in drafts at the end of August now?
Oh man, that's a tough one. It all kind of depends on if they don't sign anybody else or trade for anybody. But I mean, he's going to probably have a good shot to finish as a mid-range RB2. So I could see him going like 5th, 6th round. People might get crazy, think it might be Cam Akers part 2 and take him like in the 3rd, 4th, but I say around the 5th round is a pretty fair price to pay.
What about you, Jason?
I like him as a middle of the road RB2 as well. You know, I wish I had everyone's ADP in front of me. I wouldn't put him far behind Eckler, honestly.
Ooh, I think Eckler's RB11 right now in ADP.
Is he RB11 right now?
This is in full PPR.
Okay.
Eckler is RB3 in my heart. So
yeah.
You got to have him way behind, man. I keep every time I talk to him, like, can we please just see like 15 games out of Eckler just to show that he is really the RB3 that he can be?
Lord, I love Austin Eckler so much. In my projections, he came out as an RB6, I want to say, something like that. So, yeah, he was in there. So, who do they bring in if they bring somebody in, or do y'all think they're just going to let it ride? Jason, we'll go to you first, man.
I don't see. Okay, I don't know what their cap situation is right now. We didn't make it to the West Coast on those episodes, but
that's fair.
We were all of these. But no, I don't know what the cap situation is right now. But I certainly don't think you're bringing Todd Gurley back. Outside of that, I'm kind of struggling to. I mean, maybe Adrian Peterson. Maybe this is where he gets his chance. But I mean, you got an amazing offensive mind there. You know, the guy who runs that. Their coach is amazing. All right. So I really don't think he's sweating this too hard. Honestly, he just got his new weapon anyway. He got his quarterback. He's going to be playing. If you don't think Stafford's throwing the hell out of the ball this year, I don't know what you're thinking because they went out and got him for a reason. I don't see.
Paid a lot for him as well.
I don't see a reason to panic. I'm thinking McVay's thinking, okay, more reason to use my shiny new toy, you know?
What about you, Chris? Are they bringing somebody in? I've heard Lev Bell. I've heard AP. I've heard Todd Gurley. I've heard all sorts of things.
No, none of those guys are the answer. Is Henderson the answer? I think like to Jason's point, I mean, this team's going to be going through Stafford probably anyway, and that's not going to change. So Henderson can hold his own. He put up decent numbers when he had an opportunity. So no need to panic. Maybe they reach out, and I've seen on Twitter people speculate and trade for James Robinson or something. I mean, hey, that would be a great move. But I mean, did Jacksonville want to do that? Probably not. I think there's a plan for those guys. So I think they're going to hold tight and get through training camp, some preseason, and just see what they can do. Maybe bring in a veteran just to back up Henderson, but the Gurley's no. If they bring like a Lev Bell or AP, it probably won't be even for a timeshare.
That's my thoughts exactly. I think it's Henderson's job. He really wasn't behind. Actually, he was ahead of Cam Akers in a lot of advanced metrics in 2020. Granted, Cam Akers was a rookie, no real preseason due to the COVID situation. But at the same time, their draft capital is not that far off from each other. So I think Henderson is going to be I think he's going to be the man there. And to the point of where he's going to be drafted at, I'm going to be bullish as hell. I'm going to say by the end of August, he's going in the 3rd round. People are wild, dude. People are wild. So that's just a straight up hot take, I reckon. But that's kind of how I see it. So moving on to our next piece of news here, Jason. I know this one is near and dear to your heart.
Oh,
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Turns down a humongous extension. They're still playing chicken. What in the hell is going to happen?
Bro, I told everybody last week, I'm so done with maybe he'll come back. No, I'm not trying to be Nostradamus over here, but a week ago I told you, just give up. It's done. It's not happening. Stop looking at him. He's not coming back. And that was an even bigger indication for me that he's not coming back. I think this guy's got balls. He's 37. He sees what Brady's doing. He's in good shape. They were just out palling around with some professional golfers. He has no reason to be concerned. I think he could truly pull a Carson Palmer and sit out and come back in a year. And I think we talked about it the first episode of all this drama right after the draft. We talked about how they have the same lawyer, Carson Palmer and Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, it's been done. All right. So
Jason with the 6 degrees of separation there. I like it. What about you, Chris? So I have a question real quick. I forgot to ask you, Jason. I apologize. Percentage chance that he plays for Green Bay in 2021. Jason, are you saying 0?
A 0.
Ooh.
I'm done.
That's a hot take. Chris, what do you think?
I am still so torn. I mean, then that contract was offered back in March, right? So, I mean, that wasn't like they offered it to him yesterday. I was leaning towards he was going to show up, but with that news, even though it just came out, he's if he does the Carson Palmer, I don't know if he can restructure a new contract, but he's going to make that big money somewhere else then if that's what he wants to do. So, I don't know. I'm leaning. He's probably 25% playing in Green Bay, and I'm more likely saying he doesn't seem to care. They'll play chill. He's a pretty stubborn dude. It seems like, and he's not going to show up for the money. He's got a mind of his own.
Yeah, he's very stubborn. He's got a chip on his shoulder. It's the competitive element to him that really gives me pause to say to put his percentage of playing at Green Bay in 2021 anything under than 50%. So I'll say 51% he plays in Green Bay in 2021 just because I know he loves playing football. Where else is he going to go? Who else has the capital, let's say that, to bring him in 2021? And is Green Bay even going to consider trading him?
They shouldn't. I don't think they're going to give him what he wants. They'll both play chicken both sides. I mean, he should go back to Green Bay, to your point of a cap room and everything like that. He wants to play. His situation in Green Bay is not that bad. He's got one of the best receivers, the best running back, and he's got a very good second running back in A.J. Dillon. Tunyon was a pretty good target for him. I don't know. I don't think he's got it that bad. So I don't know what the big deal is, but I guess taking Jordan Love in the first round is kind of a punch in the gut. So I'd be pissed too, but I don't know. He should stay there.
He should. He should stay there. And the biggest reason. So this is why I feel like it's over. The biggest reason is this time of year we're so hungry for fantasy. We're so hungry to watch a football game, get together, have a good time, that we forget how relatively close it really is. Like right now, to us fans, it feels like forever. But those guys, what is it? 6? They'll be on the field in 4 weeks. Is that right?
You mean for like an actual
preseason? Yeah, for
preseason.
Like,
that's like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like 3 weeks.
Okay, so
I'm going to a game in Phoenix on like August 15th. So
that's my point. The only person who can run or can drive the car, in my opinion, in Green Bay is Aaron Rodgers. So he does need to come back. He should come back, and he'd be putting himself in a bad situation going anywhere else this late. So I feel like that's why they're not talking trades. I feel like that's why they haven't really said a lot about Jordan Love, but you can kind of tell they're not really loving the idea of it. Yeah.
Loving. That was a good pun. So that's a great segue, Jason. So let's say this. You guys are both in a Superflex Dynasty League. What sort of speculative trade would you throw out there to the Jordan Love manager, to kind of see if you can kind of hedge your bets, if you will? You don't have to be the Aaron Rodgers manager, but he is presumably the starting quarterback, correct? If Rodgers is gone, what sort of offer would you throw out there? It's a rough one, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it'd be depending on what I had, but
sure, of course, yeah, of course.
But
in a vacuum, let's say, how about this? Let's say you are rebuilding. Listen, you're not a contender. You're probably not throwing stuff out there if you're a contender for Jordan Love. Let's say you're rebuilding.
Right. And see, Superflex is so strange too. I'm still getting used to that concept.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say like a top 20 wide receiver right now.
An aging one.
I'm probably
like an Adam Thielen, maybe.
Julio Jones.
Oh,
spicy.
That's called foreshadowing.
I like that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. An aging wide receiver, the Adam Thielen type, maybe Julio Jones. I don't know, but yeah, someone like that. You need to rebuild. I'm not trading draft picks if you're rebuilding. I'm not. Maybe a third or a fourth, just because that's fine. I'll take a former first round pick, but yeah, someone that's on the tail end of their career, performance is going down. I think that's fine.
I was thinking like a second. Just if I'm just kind of just throwing it out there, let me see what I could. Because to me,
I would do a second.
Second round picks. Unless I've got one of the top. If I think that I'm going to be that bad of a team, then I'm going to have a second round pick, an early second round. I'll throw that out there for Jordan Love just to see what happens. So there we go. We had you talking good, talking a little Aaron Rodgers. A little bit of Cam Akers. Once again, get healthy soon, my man. Yeah, my dynasty team needs you a lot. But for now, we're going to talk about some bust candidates for 2021. Once again, we're calling this from fantasy hero to zero. Jason is mastermind. He was the mastermind behind that name. So, Jason, I'm going to go to you first, okay? I'm going to go to you first. What is your first player you want to talk about who is a potential bust for 2021?
Yeah, so I wish I hadn't come to you with that name, because my guys they're bust candidates, but they're not bottom of the barrel.
Let me qualify this real quick, Jason. I'm sorry to cut you off. A bust does not mean that they're going to just be at the bottom 60 or anything like that. It just means they're not going to meet their ADP value. Let's say Saquon in 2019. You were taking him as the number one running back. He ended up as running back 10. To me, that's a bust. So, sorry, just to qualify, Jason, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, so these are the few guys that I'm worried about. I think we should go ahead and start with the obvious when we were just on the subject, and that would be Devontae Adams. Again, they're going to be putting the starting offense on the field in 3 weeks in preseason, and Aaron Rodgers isn't there. You have to understand this man. Make sure, Eric, do you have his ADP up? I think it's wide receiver.
Devontae Adams is wide receiver 2 or 3 right now.
I think
I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, depending who you're using, I see him here as a wide receiver 1 through Fantasy Pros.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, he's the top 3 guy, and he doesn't have his MVP, Hall of Fame. Some people say the GOAT quarterback and we're going to a guy we don't know anything about. We do know the running game is strong, and he just got paid. Devontae Adams is on his last year of his contract. It's so hard to say, but I'll say this. He doesn't have anyone around him. Maybe Tanyan, but he doesn't really have anyone around him. Defenses are going to key on that. They're going to be successful running the ball. I don't see this guy as anything anywhere near wide receiver 1 to 3 range. I don't like it at all.
This is without Aaron Rodgers, correct?
Right.
Okay, perfect.
If Erik goes back tomorrow, but again, I've made my mind. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, that's good. So stick firm in your thing. Yeah, for me, I would say if Rodgers is back, he's my wide receiver 1, and that's not even close to me. I know I love Tyreek Hill. I love Stephon Diggs. I love DeAndre Hopkins. But if Rodgers is back, Devontae Adams. Too many D's in here. Oh, yeah. God, that was a terrible thing to say. Oh, hold on. I'm going to hit myself with this one real quick. Oh, I don't know if it's here anymore. Oh, there it is. That was an idiot bitch thing to say. Chris, all right, let's move on to you, my man. Who is your first bust candidate you'd like to speak about?
The first one on my list is I just mentioned him before, Julio Jones. I believe is a pretty decent candidate to not perform up to his ADP right now. Last I checked, he was I think he was wide receiver 15 or something like that. And now he's on Fantasy Pros. He's 13. That's insane to me.
Yeah,
for a team that throws the ball 12 times a game, it's bad.
Yeah, Fantasy Calculator has him at 14. So we're around about the same. Yeah, same range for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's obviously one of the greatest receivers that we've seen in our lifetime. Injuries, of course, have come into play recently. But like I just said, a team that's going to throw the ball efficiently, but 20 times a game, and he's not the number 1 target there. I mean, A.J. Brown is the up-and-comer. Obviously, we all know him, probably love him as his talent. But, yeah, I just don't see with even if he had like a 25% target share, I did some numbers on going for 2. I told you before, I got to find the article. But even with a large percentage, like a target share, that only translates to 5 or 6 targets a game, so it kind of limits his upside. And he's not a big touchdown guy. Never has been. Right. So yeah. I'm just not seeing it for Julio.
Especially someone who has readily gotten 165 target pace his entire career with Matt Ryan in the Atlanta Falcons. That's rough. Jason, as a Tennessee Titans fan, what do you think about that?
So he's absolutely right. Chris is absolutely right. So this is what you do. Go back and look at Corey Davis, his production last year. He was in a contract year. He literally, you can see it. Year 1 sucks. Year 2 sucks. Year 3, what was that? That's how he got his contract with the Jets. That's what you're going to see out of Julio Jones. I'm sure he'll catch a few more than Corey did. But Corey played out of his mind last year. He really did. If you go back and watch some of it, you'll be kind of shocked that it was him. One of those plays, I'm like, what? Huh? But I'm telling you, he's going to get the same amount of looks. I mean, Derrick Henry ran the ball 360 times last year.
375.
375.
Yeah.
So you just their targets aren't there. Go look at what CD got last year. I think A.J. Brown will continue to do what he does, but that's also a man who gets a lot done on the yak. So you can't really say like, oh, A.J.'s getting 11 targets. No, he's probably just going to burn the shit out of somebody. And then that's how he shows up every week. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think Julio drops way down.
Yeah, I'm 100% with y'all. And here's something to think about as well. Those casual fantasy fans that are coming back around this time of year are going to throw his ADP up so high. They're going to say, oh, my God, Julio Jones. They're going to get excited. Like Chris Farley in that one movie, he's like JoJo, the Indian circus boy, right? And they're going to just pump his ADP up on all these mock drafts. All these real drafts are going to be starting to happen. I mean, it's draft season right now, especially for hardcore folks. But like, it's July 21st. People are starting to have their legit drafts at this point in time, and for him to be going as the wide receiver 13 or 14 or whatever you want, whichever one we decided on. That to me is kind of insane. He's not going to get the same volume. he can be a very efficient player, but man, efficiency only goes so far when you have Derrick Henry carrying the ball, and it was 378 times last season, Jason.
Yeah, and
I don't.
you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, you read through like the top 20, 24 receivers, and you can make an argument that any of those guys can be a top 12 receiver, even 13, 14, where Julio's being drafted. It's a very deep position. Yes, a few points might make you go from 25th to 18th, but it's just too deep for that limited volume to be taken that high.
And let me ask y'all this. I'm looking at some players right here that are being drafted around his ADP, actually after him. Who would you rather have, Julio or Mike Evans?
Hands down, Mike Evans.
There you go. Amari Cooper.
I have Cooper top 12. His injury right now concerns me a little bit.
Me too.
But I still, Cooper.
Robert Woods.
Oh, he's in my top 12. Top 10 now, especially with Cam Akers out. Forget it.
We were talking before this, Chris. You said you're a Deontay Johnson guy. Deontay Johnson is going 7 spots behind Julio Jones.
Speaking of volume, I mean, he's out there for snaps, tons of volume, like a million targets a game. He might drop 4 of them, but he still caught 8 of them. So it doesn't matter if he drops half of them. So yeah, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah. Unless you get negative points for drops in your fantasy football league, who gives a shit? Like it really, you know what I mean?
Well, it sucks when he gets benched for it. That's when it's brutal.
Fair.
When you freaking need him, and it's like week 16 in the playoffs. Like, where is he?
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, damn you.
So this is a little surprising, actually. I pulled Corey Davis's usage last year. Tannehill actually targeted him 92 times.
Oh wow!
I didn't realize. If that happens, maybe we should kind of weather it there, maybe in the middle of the pack.
But
still,
the thing is, that's 70 less targets than Julio is used to getting.
It needs to be top 10. Absolutely. Because he's not going to score. How many touchdowns did Davis have last year? Do you have that there?
I just got rid of it. Hold on.
That's fine. I mean, but the problem is, he may get 100 targets, and I think I have him projected around 100 targets. To be honest with you, but when he's going to get 3 touchdowns, again, there's just too much.
Yeah,
too much talent.
I'm sorry, not Mike Davis. Jesus Christ, Corey Davis. I love Mike Davis. That's why I wanted to talk about it. He had 5 touchdowns last season.
Yeah, 5. Okay. Yeah, I see it now.
Johnny Smith had freaking 8, which is crazy to me. I don't know how that happened.
I still believe Johnny might be okay. But
we're not talking about Johnny. I love him so much.
Story for another day.
It hurts me so much. I have literally every single dynasty league I play in. I have a share of Johnny Smith, and when he went to New England, it made me so sad. But this is not about my dynasty teams.
Don't be mad about it.
We'll talk about Johnny next week. We'll do a tight end show next week.
Oh, dude, I'm always down. All right, so my first bust candidate. This is going to ruffle some feathers because he is a Twitter darling. He is a darling all around, I suppose. Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson right now is being drafted as the RB13. I think hedging all bets, right? So once again, this is a bust show. I don't predict him to be at RB13. I think he'll be definitely an RB2. I'm good with that, but he's not a borderline RB1. Reason being, unsustainable touchdown production. Mm-hmm. His touchdown percentage last year, so that means the rushing attempts that he had, or I guess the touchdowns he had divided by the rushing attempts he had, he was in the 96th percentile for running backs. Unsustainable, especially if we consider he's supposed to get more volume this season. That's what we've all heard, whether that's going to happen or not. He has a quarterback now who does not check the ball down. Ryan Tannehill, Jesus, I'm fucking up all over the place. Ryan Fitzpatrick wants to chuck the ball downfield. He's throwing YOLO passes with his helmet turned all the way around. He doesn't care. He has more competition for targets. So if you want to make the argument that he's going to see more targets out of the backfield, which he got, I think, 44 or 45, something like that last season, which is okay for him, actually, considering J.D. McKissick got like almost 100 targets.
Over 100, I think.
I think it was like 101 maybe. Yeah. It was freaking crazy.
Yep.
And 28 of those were in whatever.
Like
it was 29. It was in 2 games, yeah. He's got more competition for targets with Curtis Samuel, who has a low A-dot. Well, if he's used correctly, he should have a low A-dot. Mm-hmm. They have a middle-of-the-pack offensive line. PFF ranked them as the 17th best offensive line. So, that's okay. Not terrible. I just don't want to invest that highly. He's going at the end of the second round right now. I don't want to invest that highly in a wide receiver turned running back on his second year in the NFL. Is he an athletic freak? Yes. Did he have great production last year? Yes. But it came off of the least sticky stat in fantasy football, which is touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I'm not out on Antonio Gibson, but if I can get value, I would much rather take him in the third round. I'm not touching him in the second round. What do y'all? I mean, Jason, you agree? Chris, are you a big Antonio Gibson guy, or
I have him ranked, I think 12 or 13. I think I probably 11 or 12 now with Akers. I haven't updated it yet,
Fair.
but like part of me wants to put him higher. I think I even tweeted out one day, like I want him to be in the top 10, but I just can't figure out where to put him. Yeah. When you said, still an RB2, it popped in my head, like, out of curiosity, do you think he's going to be right around Darrell Henderson? We just said he's a mid-range RB2.
Wow.
That's going to be pretty close. And Gibson's got this foot injury that people are concerned about.
The toe, yeah.
Yeah, and that could nag him all season, and it could end this season. I from what I heard, potentially, if it's bad enough. So
it's been an issue since the playoffs, right?
That's the type of issue they'll just track, and he'll be out 3 weeks, and you'll think he's coming back, and then he'll be out another 3 weeks, and you'll think he's coming back. He's going to be a headache for you.
It's a Joe Mixon situation from last season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, I'm probably taking him right around his ADP. I want to put him higher, but I just can't do it right now. So I think it's fair.
And I think, Chris, he has all the talent in the world. This is not about his talent. And actually, only one of my players is about the talent. This is just about opportunity share. That's all it is for me. It's just I don't see that his path for everybody keeps beating the table for more targets for him. I just don't see where they're going to come from. I just don't see with because the receiving room got a lot more crowded with very talented players, and like we said, Curtis Samuel and Diami Brown from UNC, which I hate saying UNC on this podcast.
Yeah, no.
So Chris, let's start with you this time, man. We had you said you had Julio Jones. Who do you want to talk about now? Potential bust.
Let's just stay in Washington, and let's go Logan Thomas. I mean, I hope you knew I was going to go there. I mean, I've been kind of trying to go the other way, but now let's just stick down in the DC area. And I think Logan Thomas, he's 30 years old, never had more than I think like 27 targets or catches in his career until last season. He has some good games, obviously, but Alex Smith fed him the ball. Alex Smith checked down a lot. He needed the safety blanket like he has used his entire career. McLaurin is there, obviously, is the number one who I think is going to be great with his magic, just tossing the ball up to him anytime he can. But the additions, again, Curtis Samuel is a very underrated gadget-type football player who they're going to create plays for in the short to mid-range of the field. It's not going to be the McKissicks and Gibson. It's not going to be Logan Thomas. It's going to be Curtis Samuel and Diami Brown, wherever he fits in there. But yeah, I don't know. I know Thomas's ADP is only like 9th in tight ends, and that's a 4-point difference from 9th through 30th. But there's some guys going below him that I would take, like the Mike Gesicki's of the world. I'm a fan of his with Tua. Even the Jonnu's. I mean, I'm probably taking a chance with Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry possibly over him. So even Tyler Higbee, who I love this year. So again, tight end show coming maybe not next week for you guys, but yeah, I'm just Logan Thomas. I'm not taking him very often where he's being drafted.
Yeah, it's a different offense, really, with who's at the helm and their ability to do things this year. You're right. Curtis Samuel had 100. He touched the ball 100 times last year. I think it was something like 70 receptions and 30 rushes. It was something like that. But the guy got 100. Guys handling the ball 100 times. I've had the great misfortune of following Logan Thomas his entire career because I lived in Blacksburg, Virginia during his time under center as a Hokie. And I have had to deal with his underwhelming bullshit for a long time. And I'm just telling you, I'm right there with you, man. Nothing would surprise me, honestly, other than him doing something well.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add, but besides he was the only other receiving threat besides J.D. McKissick, and obviously, well, Terry McLaurin's on a whole different stratosphere. He
Yeah.
was the only other receiving threat in Washington last season.
But he's
to
not.
go ahead.
Sorry,
Chris.
no, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm actually looking for a stat right now. You go ahead.
It's right. I was just going to say, but McLaurin is a threat, but not when Alex Smith is the quarterback. Defenses know he's not getting the ball outside to McLaurin. So that was it.
My man. And then the stat I was looking for, his average depth of target last season, Logan Thomas, that is, 7.3. Mm-hmm. They already have enough guys, J.D. McKissick, and I think Chris or Jason, one of y'all said Curtis Samuel is going to fill that role now as that if they're smart. Carolina last season finally figured out, hey, let's not make Curtis Samuel just run 9 routes. He's actually really good with the ball in his hands and in space. Let's give him the ball around, more around the goal line. I'm sorry, not the goal line, the line of scrimmage. But yeah, an ADOT of 7.3, I just don't see it. He's not getting 97 targets again. It's just not going to happen.
Didn't Ron Rivera draft Curtis Samuel in Carolina?
He sure as hell did.
Yeah.
So they're smart. He's there for a reason.
You damn right. All right, Jason. Who you got next, my man?
I'm going to save my most flagrant one for last. We'll go ahead and jump on one that I'm sure I'm just echoing at this point. Joe Mixon. He's going to let us all down again. His prime for his 5th-year breakout.
It's going to happen this year, guys.
He's going to do it.
He's like that dad that went out to get a pack of cigarettes and just never came back. You know what I mean?
Never comes back.
That's Joe Mixon for fantasy managers.
He'll give you 3 weeks. But, nah, man. The offensive line didn't get good enough, in my opinion. I mean, he brought in Riley Reef for a year. He got his ass whipped in Pittsburgh. Did a great job. But 1 year Riley Reef, and then a second-year pick.
They had a second round. I forget the guy's name, but yeah,
second round pick. So not enough after what I saw last year to say this line is really that improved. And I've seen the articles everywhere that how improved it is. But seeing's believing. Right now, I don't believe it. In late 2019, he had a huge uptick in carries. He got to like 23 carries a game. Then in the beginning of 2020, he comes in, he's like 19 carries a game. Then he gets hurt. We just talked about Curtis Samuel. I like Jamar Chase in that same role. I like him to steal some carries out of the backfield. They're talking, Mixon's going to be involved in the passing game. Okay, so it's a trade-off, right? So Jamar Chase is probably going to run the ball 30, 40 times, and you might catch 30, 40 passes. Unless we're talking full-point PPR, it's really just a trade-off. I haven't seen it. I just haven't seen it, and so therefore I can't believe it. I think some people have had his ADP as high as RB6, and I hate it. I say RB 18 to 20 range.
You're speaking my language, and I love it so much. Chris, let me get your thoughts on Joe Mixon real quick before I have another game for us to play. Would you rather take this guy or this guy?
All right.
So, I mean, I don't know if you had Mixon stats in front of you or if you reviewed him at all, but I'm pretty sure Mixon had that one great game right before he got hurt.
So a 40-pointer.
Yeah, so he was like mediocre the first 2 or 3 games he played, and then he was he was an RB6 when he got hurt. That's because he was RB1 once and RB 35 3 times. So I want to like Mixon, but the line stinks. The team is just not that good. They're going to be trailing a lot, and yeah, I mean Gio Bernard's out of town, so maybe he'll get some more passing work. But like Jason's point, Jamar Chase is there from LSU. He has a clear role, whether it's running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield. He's there because they know that Joe Mixon is not always going to be there. So you got to have him a little bit lower than 13 or 14 wherever he's being drafted. Definitely lower than RB6, please.
Lord, I mean, he's exceeded his ADP one time in his four-year career. That's all I have to say to people.
Me too.
I don't know why Joe Mixon gets more chances than I don't know. I was trying to think of something clever to say, but to your point, Chris, his week 4 game against Jacksonville. He had 151 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 6 receptions, 30 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. So that right there buoyed his entire season. For these dipshits, by lack of a better word, I'm sorry. If you're watching this, I love you. But the lack of a better term, man, these people that say, oh, he was the RB whatever in points per game basis, look at the context. He had 69, 46, 49, 59, 54 rushing yards his other 5 games he played. I care nothing about Joe Mixon. I hate him, actually. I don't hate him. But it's just the same story every single year. Like, he's supposed to be this amazing, amazing talent. Well, talent should shine through at some point. And so I was saying I wanted to play a game with y'all.
Okay.
So Joe Mixon is going as the RB14 right now, what I'm seeing as far as fantasy calculator goes.
Okay.
Would you rather have Joe Mixon or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Ooh, CEH.
Ooh, Chris.
Do I have to pick one? I am not a CEH believer, but I will probably take CEH over Mixon just for the fact that, I mean, again, a former first-round pick. Andy Reid usually has pretty good running backs on his team, so I'll give CEH another chance with a full off season and year of prep.
Gotcha. I'm a full-on CEH guy for this one, but we have a question from the chat here. I'm going to read it out real quick. Jalen Hurts didn't necessarily shine as a passer, of course. If defenses can work to limit his mobility and force him to beat them from the pocket, will he be a bust at QB ECR Fantasy Pros Expert Consensus Rankings? QB 9. Do y'all think he's being drafted to, or his ranking is too high?
I have him at 8, so I'm okay. I'm okay with him there, depending on your scoring settings and things like that. Like this guy Fishbowl, I think you lose points for incompletion, so that kind of concerns me. But
yeah.
These mobile quarterbacks, I mean, there's so many of them, and they're not. I mean, Lamar Jackson hasn't gotten stopped yet. Not saying Jalen Hurts is Lamar Jackson type. Like, let's not get crazy. But like they're not stopping these guys. They're making ways to use his legs. So I think he's fine around there. Dynasty, I'm concerned though long term.
Yeah, long term, I don't want to talk about it. But this year, I love it because we've seen a pattern with mobile quarterbacks going into their second year. So I'm here for it. My popcorn's ready. I can't wait to see what he does. I don't think he'll do much next year. I think they'll probably end up getting a first-round pick or getting the first pick. A lot of people theorize Philly will have the worst record this year. It is super possible. So even if the guy is half decent, or looks to be a long-term solution, they'll draft a guy because of where they're at. So it really is prime time. If you're going to cash out now.
I'll say this. As far as a bust goes, do I think he's going to be the QB9 at the end of the season? No. I think he will be a solid, right on the borderline of QB1. And what I'm looking at right here, it has Jalen Hurts as far as fantasy calculator goes as the quarterback 11. And that's for ADP. What Anthony's talking about is the ECR. That's like the 98 experts. They rank him in, whatever, their consensus rankings. I'm seeing Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Trevor Lawrence, and Baker Mayfield go behind him in ADP. Out of those 5 guys, and I can repeat them again if y'all would like to hear, who would you take over Jalen Hurts? If you're on the clock right now, who are you taking over Jalen Hurts? And once again, it's going to be Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence, Matt Ryan, and Baker Mayfield. I think I just did 6. I'm sorry. I lied.
I'm sticking with Hurts.
It's probably Hurts, but Tannehill is very close. Very close for me.
That's the one for me,
everyone
Chris.
Else, no.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Chris. That's the one for me. I like Tannehill a lot this year. He's finished as the quarterback 11 when he took over from Mariota and the quarterback 10 in 2020. I like Ryan Tannehill. He's got a shiny new toy to play with. But other than that, I would take Jalen Hurts second out of that group of 6.
Yeah, do you want a guy guaranteed to finish 10th? Take Tannehill. Do you want a guy that could finish 6 or 7 if he's crazy good still? Then you go Hurts. But it depends on your team.
And that's a great way to look at it, Chris. It's all upside, right? I mean, because Tannehill has a great floor, and that's the thing. You weigh floor against ceiling. Jalen Hurts' floor is pretty low. If they can contain him in the pocket, it's not going to be
Anthony's
great.
point, yeah.
It ain't going to be great. To Anthony's point, exactly. Thank you for the question, Anthony. We appreciate that. And what I was saying before, were we talking about Joe Mixon, I believe?
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I know. I'm just trying to beat Joe Mixon down a little bit here while we talk about these other. So we had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins.
Probably Dobbins, I'm still thinking.
Yeah.
Chris Carson.
I love Chris Carson.
Yeah.
Jason's like, yeah. The last one, David Montgomery.
Mixon.
Yeah.
You want Montgomery over Mixon, Jason?
Yeah, I'll take it.
I think that one's a very, very much a toss-up for me. Ooh, it would look like – so for me, it would depend on what I did earlier in the draft. If I want a very, very safe floor, I'm going Montgomery. If I want to kind of swing – because I think Mixon has a higher ceiling than Montgomery does, but I think Montgomery has a higher floor.
Well, here's the thing about David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery stays healthy. I don't have any reason to believe that the guy, I'm not suspecting any injury proneness or any injuries coming up to stop him. So I'm expecting a full workload out of him. We kind of saw it last year with Miles Sanders when Jalen Hurts stepped in. I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens there in Chicago when you get this mobile quarterback who just appears out of nowhere with no camera on him, with no tape on him,
Yeah.
All of a sudden you don't know what to do with this big smash, or Miles Sanders isn't a big smashing running back, but all of a sudden you don't know what to do with this guy up the middle because you're so worried about the edge. And I really think that he'll have a special year based on that alone.
I like it. So I'm going to move on to my bust here, or my second one, Myles Gaskin. I do not trust these these running backs that just pop up out of the blue. They were essentially undrafted in the previous season, and now all of a sudden they're going in the top 3-4 rounds. I don't trust him. I just straight up don't trust him. He doesn't have the draft capital. He already doesn't have a track record of staying healthy. He missed, I think, 6 or 7 games last season. He was great when he played. He really was. I think he was the RB11 in points per game basis. But he's a smaller back, 5'9", 200 pounds, and he's not terribly athletic either. He was the 54th percentile in the 40-yard dash, 54th percentile in burst score, and 44th percentile in agility score. I don't give a shit if my wide receivers are athletic, really, because DeAndre Hopkins is not an athletic guy, but he knows how to get open. Running backs have to be athletic. It's just the nature of the position. He just doesn't have that. He was RB 55 in fantasy points per opportunity, according to Player Profiler. I look at that stat pretty freaking heavily, and the fact that he was down there as a RB 6 or whatever that is, or I guess RB 4, that's scary to me. And I'm just not terribly convinced he's hanging on to the starting role. They brought in Malcolm Brown. I've heard a lot of talk. He might be cut, yada yada, but he has that traditional running back body. They showed it with Jordan Howard last season in the first 2 or 3 games. They want him around the goal line. Jordan Howard sucks, but he got like 6 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, on 7 carries for like 3 yards.
Dude, it was crazy, right? So I just don't trust Myles Gaskin. I'm not taking him in the 4th round. I will not take a running back that early that I don't have a whole lot of faith in that's going to keep that starting job from week 1 to week 17. Where are y'all at with Myles Gaskin? Because it's divisive, man. People love him or they hate him.
That's a weird backfield. I mean, Malcolm Brown, you can probably put him on the board for 2 touchdowns in week 1. That's what he does every single season. But yeah, like to your point, Jordan Howard, who is terrible, has 6 carries for 5 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, they don't need Gaskin. They don't want Gaskin at the goal line. Ahmed came in last year when Gaskin was hurt and lit it up. They got Jared Dokes is the rookie they just drafted, right? I mean, I don't know a ton about Dokes. I don't think he's going to be a factor so quickly. But that team, it's hit or miss with Tua at quarterback. They could be terrible on offense, and the volume might not be there, even if Gaskin is the workhorse. So I tread lightly on him. So I can't argue with that at all.
I'm not drafting him. I've been pretty vocal about my thoughts on Tua, but I'll just say this since we're talking about the running back position there. I that team, man, I love their coach, hate their personnel. I hate it for him. I feel like that guy could be a monster if he just had the right tools. And right now, I don't like anybody. I mean, I might like Waddle, but I got to like Tua to like Waddle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, pass all the way around.
Good. That means a point for me, right? We all agree on that? That's what that means? No.
Yeah, that's fine.
Golf clap.
All right, Chris, I want to get to your last one because it is a spicy meatball here.
Oh.
Let's get your last. Let me get your last bus candidate.
So my last bus candidate of the evening will be Alvin Kamara from our New Orleans Saints.
Woo.
Turn a fan on something. Where is he going these days? This guy, RB4,
like 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him finishing in the top 5. I probably have him ranked somewhere around there because you kind of have to. But I was just looking at some of his numbers last season. He reached over 100 yards combined, rushing and receiving 6 out of his first 7 games, and only did it once in his last 8 games. And that once, yes, was against Minnesota where he ran for 6 touchdowns. So Joe Mixon-esque performance the last 8 weeks of the season where it kind of just throws off his numbers because he had an insanely monster game. And that's kind of without Drew Brees. And Drew Brees, obviously, we know is retired after a great career. Jameis Winston does not check the ball down. He is like the poor man Fitzpatrick. He'll throw it up to whoever he can. But not Kamara. If Taysom Hill is the quarterback for some weird reason, because he's got the dirt on Sean Payton and Payton has to start him, he doesn't check the ball down either. Running quarterbacks don't check the ball down. So the only way he lives up to that ADP is if they force him the ball. And I mean, they're probably going to have to make plays for him to come out of the backfield. But I just don't see the receiving work there this season. I just can't do it. I don't see it.
And I completely understand where you're coming from. See, my biggest thing is this is, and we talked about this like a month or so ago. We probably talked about it at the beginning of the summer. My biggest thing with that team is you're heading for a quarterback controversy all year round. You know this isn't going away. You know it's going to get talked about all the way to week 17. Who they shoulda, woulda, coulda started. I heard I was listening to PFF yesterday, and it was said that strong indications Jameis Winston was going to be the starter. I'm thinking that's the right move. You bring Taysom in the same way you did with Drew Brees. Is it believable, though, at that point, or is it just blatantly obvious? I don't know. But I can see where he's going to lose receptions, Alvin Kamara, that is. I just hope that as this back and forth occurs all year long and you don't know who's starting from week to week and there's drama and whatever else, I'm hoping that Alvin Kamara will get just carry after carry tacked on because they're having a hard time game planning for each week. I'm probably wrong. Sean Payton probably has a tighter grip than I'm giving him credit for. But right now, I think there's going to be so many problems at that position that at the quarterback position that the running back position is going to be leaned on so heavy. And I like that for Latavius Murray, too. I'm not just saying that for Kamara.
I kind of like Murray a little more than I have in the past with the way this offense is probably going to look. And if they have to go to more of a running team, I mean, I don't see why Murray can't get some extra carries, especially he's been very productive for that team.
Absolutely. And Kamara saw in 2020, he saw 14 or more carries 3 times.
He is not a 20 carry guy.
Because we know this. He's 81 receptions, 81 receptions. 80, he's always in the 80 part, 80 reception category or range there. Excuse me. That's what I was trying to say. I don't see that with Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, to be honest. The only pushback I would have would be who else besides Michael Thomas is a quarterback going to throw the ball to? It's Alvin Kamara. You know what I mean? He's the second best receiver on that team.
That's why I think they have to get him the ball. They're going to have to.
I mean, I think his floor, like, he just had crazy reds or touchdown effectiveness last season. I'm looking at it here. He had 12 attempts inside the 5-yard line. He scored on 9 of those. That is way above average. That's a quarterback sneak type conversion rate, honest to God. Because Josh Allen is down here. He had 9 attempts and 7 touchdowns inside the 5 zone. So can we see that? Because in 2019, Alvin Kamara had 6 touchdowns in total. Do we see another year? Do we see another year where that touchdown production flip flops? Once again, don't for new fantasy players or whoever, don't just look at last season's touchdown totals and say this is what I'm going to project for them this year. That shit is not sticky. It does not. It all depends on. It's honestly a lot of luck.
Yeah.
It's a lot of luck.
6 touchdowns in a week is a lot of luck.
Oh,
Don't even talk to me about that. That was I could have won. Me and Jason have been in the league together since 20. We've been in the league together since 2011, and I lost in our main league in week 16 because Alvin Kamara scored 6 freaking touchdowns.
And I was watching in the other league that we co-commissioned with him on my team being beaten by that Roethlisberger dud in Cleveland. And I was sitting here going, no, I had it. I had it.
All right, I almost called you Justin. That's a little foreshadowing there. Jason, who is your last bust candidate?
All right, so I'm going to get some hate for this one. Let me preface this by saying I love this player.
But
there's some terrible circumstances this year. So, Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver 6 from last year, dethroner of Randy Moss and Anquan Bolden. He looks like a sure thing, right? Like you want to like him. But do you really think he's going to do 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns again? 125 targets, maybe we can get that, but 1,400 yards, I don't know about all that. Here's what I'm saying. The guy was wide receiver 6, sorry, and his ADP now is, according to Sleeper, wide receiver 2. That's a huge jump for a second-year guy. And he gets to play against the LA Rams. Well, okay, he plays the NFC West and the AFC North. Now, what I'm trying to look at here to tell you guys is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he plays 5 of the top 10 PFF ranked secondaries this year. He plays some of the most badass pass rushes, just great defenses all around. They have one of the toughest schedules. I think they have the 6th. I think they're ranked 6th in overall toughest schedule. And they have a running back who touches the ball over 300 times a game. The whole reason he got what he got last year was solely based on the fact that sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here.
You're good, bro.
It was solely based on the fact their defense was porous. So it's Mike Zimmer. We don't expect that to happen again. Mike Zimmer's got this. He knows what he's doing. I don't think they're going to be forced to throw the ball as much. I think another bit of evidence behind that is the fact that him and Thielen were both top 10 wide receivers by the end of the year, on top of a running back who was number 2 overall and number 2 in carries on the season. Like, Jesus Christ, the amount of offense they were generating, they could have donated to other teams. So it's just, I don't see him being wide receiver 2, and I don't see him putting up those types of numbers. Maybe he can get the back end of wide receiver, the top 10, but I don't love where he's at, wide receiver 2. If I got to take a top 5 guy, I don't want a guy who's dealing with that kind of schedule. And again, he's a second-year guy. I mean, we don't know.
100%. I wrote an article about him being. I wrote a blurb, I should say, about him being one of the most overrated wide receivers. That defense is finally healthy. They brought in new blood, new very talented blood along every level of the defense. Mike Zimmer's going to play his game. He's going to slow it down. He's going to run the ball. Kirk Cousins is not getting. I think he had 35 touchdowns last season or something like that.
Something crazy.
It was something crazy. And then 7 games last season, Justin Jefferson played against PFF's ranked 118th, 84th, 94th, 64th, 90th, 74th, and 88th ranked cornerbacks. Adam Thielen was getting the attention. Justin Jefferson is now the number 1 on that team. He is getting all the attention. Is he talented? Oh, hell yeah, he's talented. And I love him, especially in Dynasty. Lord have mercy, let's go. But if you're saying he's being drafted as a wide receiver 2, I haven't seen that. That was probably like a Dynasty type thing, I reckon.
I don't know. It's
Lord, I think I've seen him at wide receiver 6. I've seen him as high as wide receiver 6. That's too high for me. What do you think, Chris? Are you a big Jefferson fan, or are you kind of lowering expectations at that?
I'm probably going to lower expectations a little bit too. And I think, I know his schedule is pretty brutal. But to like the Kamara point that you said, Erik, before, is like, who else do they have? I mean, Kirk Cousins can throw the ball. He can have 3,000 passing yards on the season. Jefferson can 1,500 yards because they literally have nobody else. It is Dalvin. Go to like a third and fourth receiver. The tight ends. I mean, Rudolph is gone. Maybe it's Irv Smith. I don't know, Tyler Conklin, whatever. But like, they really only have 3 options. So he will still probably get his. I mean, if he can't produce, that the team's in trouble because they have nobody else. So I mean, wide receiver 2 is insane. Except unless it's dynasty, maybe. Sure, I get it. But redraft this year, you can't. He's close, but again, I'm keeping him top 10. But I totally understand why he wouldn't be top 5 for sure, or 6.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting him inside my top 10 in my rankings, but he's right on that cusp. Go ahead, Jason.
It's so much easier to believe you're going to see a traditional Mike Zimmer defense who can keep these teams close, and you have a running back of that stature. You know what I mean? Like the NFL has become a passing league, but it's still game script at the end of the day, and it's still a war of attrition, right? So I mean,
and they're not going to be playing behind every game either. That was the problem with why the defense was bad last year in Minnesota. Right. They're not going to be playing from behind as much. Kirk Cousins is going to have to sling the ball as much either. My other computer just died. I was going to give y'all. I'll give you what I remember off the top of my head as far as my other bust. This, honestly, I don't even believe it. This was just somebody. See, this is what happened. Chris and Jason took all the good bust candidates. I put my stuff in last. But I had George Kittle. He's being drafted right now as a tight end 3. His advanced metrics are amazing. I'll give you that. In the 4 games that him and Ayuk and Samuel played together in 2020, he out-targeted them 40 to 24 to 21, I believe, off the top of my head. My problem is, what happens when – I'm not saying if – when Trey Lance takes over that team? So George Kittle's ADOT was around 7.6. His average depth of target was around 7.6. You know what Debo – let me ask y'all a question. Here's a guessing game. What was Debo Samuel's ADOT in 2020?
I'm going to guess
5.7.
I would say 7.6. Is it?
2.2.
Oh my God!
He is the check down option, Mom. So listen, for my Scott Fishbowl team, I'm hoping Trey Lance gets in there as soon as humanly possible because I took Debo in like the 11th or something like that. But for real though, I love George Kittle. Don't get it twisted. I drafted him in a dynasty league a couple weeks ago. Love him. Just be wary. That's all I'm saying. Because we could get to and George Kittle's never scored more than 5 touchdowns in the season either. So
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, right. And I looked that up the other day. I was like, what the fuck? Like that's crazy.
That sounds like crazy talk.
Look it up, man. Never scored more than 5 in one season. So he's not a touchdown guy. I'm wary about a raw passing quarterback who needs development in the passing game coming in, and you have to draft him in the 3rd round. You have to draft this tight end in the 3rd round when you could be solidifying your running back, your wide receiving core. So just be careful because we all know once you get past those like top 3, 4 tight ends, even tight end 5 is trash. Tight end like number 5 to number whatever 22 or something. You can't, like, they're startable, quote unquote, but they're not making a difference on your team. They're just really just not making too much of a difference. So just be wary, be careful about George Kittle this season. He ticks all the boxes. He's still a great player, but just saying, situations can change a lot real quick.
I agree. I'm terrified of Trey Lance. I was one of the people who thought, well, just give Jimmy G one more year, let him play for his contract somewhere else, and then bring him in year 2 like we're supposed to. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will play this year. Nobody ever does anything that makes sense. So, I mean, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's Kyle Shanahan, though, and he runs a great system.
Yeah.
And if Trey Lance isn't ready to run that system, he won't see the field.
Agreed. Chris, you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's still up there for me, but yeah, I get it. That was like the Niners are the toughest team for me to project this year, just because of the unknown. I do think Jimmy G plays most of the games, so Kittle's probably fine. But if all these guys are healthy, I mean, obviously they're run first. They have 19 running backs, so I don't know who the hell's going to emerge there. So when they do throw it, Debo's obviously he's like the running back out of the backfield to check down to. It's just not enough targets to feed all three. And who's the odd man out? I don't know. They're so tough. So
it is, man. You could have a whole podcast about projecting what the hell's going to happen with the backfield in San Francisco.
Oh God, it's brutal.
It makes me so sad. Like it's just weird, man. But I'm with you. It's hard to project those guys. But yeah, there we go. We have 9 bust candidates. 0 heroes to zeros. Not really. Some of them aren't heroes, but yeah.
Some
hopefully
of them aren't
y'all
zeros either.
Some of them aren't zeros either. George Kittle. Look, I still have George Kittle projected as my tight end 3. I was reaching for freaking straws at this point. Y'all
That's
took
why
all
I got
the
mine
good
in
ones.
quick.
Yeah. But hey, Chris, thank you so much for coming on with us, man. We really appreciate it. Can you let the people know what you got going on, where they can find you?
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Again, I appreciate it. I had a good time. Check me out on goingfor2.com. I just had an important handcuffs you must draft article come out last week. And I do have my James Robinson outlook coming out Thursday. Today's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow morning, 11:30, J-Rob outlook comes out tomorrow. And then probably next week, you'll see my first article coming out for Team Rise or Fall. So keep an eye out. And then follow me on Twitter at @TheCommissionFF to get all my updates.
There we go. I'm excited to read that James Robinson article, actually, because I have no idea what to do with him.
Me either, but a lot of talk about him, and I just wanted to give my 2 cents of what I think he'll do this year.
Hell yeah, man. We're looking forward to it. Jason, you got any words of wisdom for the folks? You want me to hit you with it?
I think I've had enough today.
You've got – okay, got you. Jason typically has a kneel down, the mighty epic kneel down where he rants about something. I don't have anything to rant about. How about this? I do have something to rant about.
You're right. Hit it.
I'm going to do it. It says with Jason, but it's going to be with me. I don't know where it's at. There we go. Oh, here it is. Players, can we please stretch out your Achilles? Can we do some like calf stretches or something?
Yes.
If y'all noticed that though, for real, there's been a rash of like Achilles injuries lately. I'm not Brandon Brooks, freaking Kobe back in the day tore his Achilles. So let's get a little bit better. Let's figure out what's going on. Sports medicine. Let's do something about this. I'm talking to you right now. You at Radford University in Virginia. Figure out what's going on with these Achilles injuries. But for real, that's all I'd say. Take players. Hopefully, you're taking care of themselves. I'm sure they are. But it bums me out, especially when you have such a talented young guy like Cam Akers, that he was poised, in my opinion, for a breakout. And for him not to play a down of football, and he's only 21 years old. Down of football in 2021, I should say.
Yeah,
that's just kind of disappointing. But yeah, take care of yourselves. Please stretch. Please. Dynamic stretching. Do Pilates. I don't give a shit. Do something. Help yourselves out. Oh, Jason's gone. Cool, Chris. It's just me and you. He's so sad. But hey, once again, everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. We are the Fantasy Friends. Find us on YouTube, Fantasy Friends, FRANDS. Find us on Twitter. Same thing there. Oh, Jason is back. You can find me at Fantasy Barbecue on Twitter. You can find Jason for all things Titan propaganda at Big Chill Squad on Twitter. Other than that, we are out of here. And once again, thanks for joining us. Y'all have a good night.